everybody, to another outstanding, wonderful, interesting, crazy good episode of The End of the Night. Mr. Ridgely, how are you, my friend?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I know everybody's a little bit out of sorts tonight with not having you and George on at 9 o'clock. The Grand Poobah, the staple of the whole network. I'm going to try and keep you guys entertained for, my car wreck of a show. But I'm super excited because tonight's going to be a great show. And
As am I.
yeah.
And everybody keeps asking me, IMing me, PMing me, Joe, what program do you use to shoot Romero Pictures Indie Brigade, The End of the Night, Wagner Wiles, the whole 9 yards? Well, I use StreamYard. So if you guys want your streams looking professional, head on over to StreamYard and have a look around. They have a free version that you can play around with, and give it a shot.
Yes, and I will be the first to say that ever since I've been doing this show, I think we're like, I don't know, I think we've done over 30 episodes at the end of the night, and StreamYard has performed so extraordinarily well. We've had so many icons on this show, and so many important stories were told on on all of our shows throughout the network. Hey, Sean. And StreamYard has always been there and always done an amazing job. Hey, Joe, I hope
Definitely
you're
better
well.
than the first program we used to use. Much more reliable. No glitches. Which
Well, tonight, on the end of the night, we are going to have, and I don't throw this around lightly, a television and film icon join us tonight, later in a few minutes. The legendary Tim Busfield will be joining us in just a bit. And of course, we're going to have a stop by Uncle Scott Schiaffo. Uncle Truly's Gum Guy Scott will be joining us probably in just a few minutes. But there's a segment that I love to do, and it's showing some of my antique toys. So I have a couple of toys I want to share with you guys. I think you're going to like.
Are you ready for your close-up, Mr. DeVille?
My big red Solo cup. Now, I think this movie came out, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago. Do you have any idea, Joe, when Sam Raimi's Oz came out? I want to say it was probably about 2008, 2010.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And when that movie came out, I'm an enormous Sam Raimi fan. I loved his Evil Dead films. I loved Darkman. I loved what he did with Spider-Man. I was so juiced to see what he was going to do with a Wizard of Oz prequel, and I'm one of the few people who thought it was a cinematic masterpiece. I thought it was a great, great movie. But when that movie came out, one of the coolest toys accompanied the release of that movie. And I know that because the movie wasn't as big a hit as they wanted it to be, that the toys, not as many were made as you would think. And I absolutely love this. It's the full size of the character in the movie. It's a full size China doll. The character was named China Girl.
I'm going to
And
give you a close-up.
and the doll is a full-sized replica of the character, the China Girl doll. And I thought that this character was so cool in that movie. And it was a very empowering character. It was an empowering little. She was a little girl, and in the film, all of her family, when the flying monkeys destroy the little China girl's town, and she joins them in their quest to, the wizard, and it was just a wonderful character, and it was such a cool toy. This China Girl doll. I know it's not the manliest of toys, but 2013. Thank you, Ron. It seems like it was longer than it's only 7 years for that movie. Wow, it seems like it was longer. Did you like it, Lance? Did you like?
Oh, he can't even remember it.
Oh, there you go. Another cool toy. I know this toy is about 17 or 18 years old because a dear friend of mine, the late Steve Dash, gave it to me, and I think George would get a kick out of this. It's called the Horrified B-Movie Victims.
Oh, I gotta get close up on that. That
Horrified B-movie victims. And it's all people in little action figures in various distress. There's a girl screaming for her life, a guy holding a shotgun, there's a guy throwing a rock. It's just
that is awesome.
Horrified B-movie victims. And on the back they have like little scenes from bad stuff happening. So, horrified B-movie victims. One more toy. All
right. Gunny, we will catch you next time. Thank you for stopping by.
Hey, John, I hope you're well. And this is a really cool doll. The original Universal Monsters, it's the Lon Chaney Jr. Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom. Wow.
How cool is that?
It's very cool. That's a recent release?
This one was from... The box says 2008. So 2008. So 12 years ago already.
Wow. Very cool. Universal and licensing toys, they were not doing that in like the 80s and 90s as much. If I recall correctly, and there were a bunch of knockoffs. I recently saw a documentary on that.
Well, without further ado, I'm not going to bore you guys with any of my toys any further. You know what? I actually want to do a toy episode with you, Joe, right around Christmas time. We'll do a whole episode of toys.
Cool.
Is my dear... Hey, Amy, I hope you're well. Is Uncle Scott in the green room?
I believe he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, Uncle Scott Schiaffo.
Premature.
Whoa. There you go. No, it's okay. You're over 40. We expect premature.
Oh, what's going on, guys?
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Schiaffo. Scott, how are you, my friend?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Keeping busy in all the madness. Been a couple of wacky weeks since I saw you guys last.
Now, I hear that you have a crazy story to share with us, Uncle Scott.
Well, God, we had a couple of them, but we actually had an unwanted guest in our drop ceiling. A couple of seasons ago, a squirrel made his way into the drop ceiling, and we got rid of him, and we plugged up what we thought was the hole. And then a few weeks ago, we began to hear some action, and of course, we got nervous. We figured a squirrel was back, but it wasn't a squirrel. It was quite a large raccoon. And now, if you could picture this, the raccoon popped his head out from the drop ceiling upside down. Looked like Lugosi, man. Like it looked like a giant vampire bat. Scared the crap out of me. Jewel, God bless her. She loves animals, so she thought it was adorable. And she, I just assumed that he would be either rabid or, threatened and tear us all up. But he popped the head down, staring dead at me with these big black eyes, and it flipped me out. But
Scott, I hate to break this to you, but I think you told the same exact story on our last show.
Oh my God, I did?
Did he?
Oh, you should stop me.
Yeah, but that's
I'm
okay.
Sorry.
Carrie's involved now.
See, he was cute. I'm sorry.
I said you gave him the Spider-Man kiss.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that. I got really burned in my mind that it looked like Lugosi.
You know what's scary? The fact that this raccoon has scarred you so deeply.
I was literally trembling.
And Dave, you kind of ruined the mystery for everybody now by announcing that I'm over 40. Thank you very much.
Zing!
You know what? No offense, Joe, but I assure you it was no mystery.
Wow.
Gotta love those trash pandas. Now it's even funnier, Scott. Look at that. So tell me, Scott, how was your Halloween? I haven't spoken to you since our big Halloween show.
It was, to be honest, it was pretty uneventful. In our area, we haven't had trick-or-treaters in quite a long time. And of course, with COVID, we definitely didn't have any trick-or-treaters. So it was pretty uneventful in that way. But, I watched a bunch of movies and we had a good time regardless. But
My daughter and I went trick-or-treating in the town of Milford, where literally it looks like it's out of Central Casting, and everybody had COVID masks on, and everybody socially distanced as well as they could. And there had to have been, I don't know, 10,000 trick-or-treaters in that town of Milford that night. It was just packed. And then we hopped in the car and we went out to Amityville, exit 52 on the Long Island Expressway. And my friend has a house on Ocean Avenue, 3 houses away from the Amityville house. And we did a seance and we resurrected nothing but Schlitz ice, to be honest with you. But it was a very, very, very fun Halloween. A very fun Halloween.
well, I know you've shared with me about that, and you took me there. It wasn't Halloween, but you said that that's like the most rockin' Halloween town with the trick-or-treaters all over the streets. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was actually voted in one of the magazines the number 1 place in the country to go trick-or-treating, and it's just absolutely awesome. And then after Halloween, I think I shot for 7 consecutive days. I only have about 15 days of principal photography, and the movie will be finally done. And we have to shoot our scene, Mr. Schiaffo. You have to let me know when you're free. And,
We'll talk, sir.
Yep. And it's all been fun and games. Is our legendary guest in the green room, Mr. Ridgely?
He is. If he gives me a thumbs up, I'll know he's available and ready to come up. And yes, he is. Are you ready?
All right. Yep. Our first guest tonight, because Uncle Scott is a regular, really needs no introduction. He's been in so many iconic films, from anywhere from Revenge of the Nerds and Field of Dreams, and so many iconic films. And he's an iconic television personality, 30-something, and the list goes on. And he's just a great guy. West Wing. You just look at his IMDb; it speaks for himself. It speaks for itself. I'm actually tongue-tied because I'm a little intimidated. I love Tim as an actor and as a human being. He's just a great guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tim Busfield.
Hi, fellas.
Hey, Tim, how are you?
I wanted you to see what you were taking me from at 11 o'clock at night.
Oh,
Right, that. I got Melissa Gilbert at home in her pajamas, and that's going to be my backdrop tonight. Not, when I grew up, that would have been Lon Chaney. It would have been Boris Karloff. I always wanted to play Renfield. So I like the late night horror-y thing. We like it. She'll watch horror films all the time.
It's not what it's funny that you should say that, because when you it's not the image that she gives off. She doesn't. You wouldn't think of Melissa Gilbert as being a horror fan. Everybody, the beautiful woman behind him is his beautiful, super talented television icon, Melissa Gilbert, who you all know from Little House on the Prairie and too many films to count. And Tim and Melissa are married, and they make films together, and they do fun stuff together. And you're a lucky man, Mr. Busfield.
I'm so fortunate. It's crazy. So fortunate. Thanks for having me on, you guys. You guys are funny.
We try, but it's usually people laughing at us, not with us. I want to ask.
That's okay. That's okay.
I want to.
Scott knows that's a good thing. We want people to laugh at us and not know why. Just okay, whatever. We'll take it.
Libby McDermott, who's a wonderful, wonderful director. She did a wonderful film called Dead Woman's Hollow, which was Conrad Brooks' last film. Just said that she loves you and she loves your wife. Hi, Libby.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about how you got started in film, and tell us a little. It's a 2-part question, and tell us a little bit about how about your passion for theater. Let's start with your passion for theater.
Wow. I think they're all the same, actually. It's just all the same. It's all the same sport, really. You know what I mean? It was just something at 6 I knew I had an my dad taught theater at Michigan State. My brother was in the Steins makeup. He created a Frankenstein doll out of a G.I. Joe. King Kong. We tried to shoot a version of King Kong walking through wires with lady fingers going off where the telephone poles would be, but we didn't understand light, and then, I loved the movies as a little kid, but then theater is our minor leagues. Theater is a way to, you guys know it's our way to learn the process and get the bad out. And so it's vital. And I know that. I learned that when I wrote a play at 15. We adapted a Charlie Brown Christmas, and they brought in all the elementary kids that we did such a good job. And I kind of just knew at that point, that I was probably like athletically, if I was, if I was running track, I would probably say I'm a bit faster than everybody. And so my mind sort of shifted to making that a sport, my career. Like almost all actors, we all tell the same story. Really, at one point, we sort of, and it's all the same to me. The theater is your whole day is geared around 2 hours at night. And when you're doing film, you're first thing in the morning and working all day, and it's a different drill. It's a marathon. And both are part of the same process. We sell popcorn, we sell candy, we sell sodas. We want you to lean in. We want you to have a good time. We want you to go home. So theater was just a way I could do it. And back then, when I really started at East Tennessee State, when I started to really focus and work on it all the time, there was still no video yet per se. And so the idea of grabbing a camera, with a 2500 ISO, where the speed is so fast you don't need light. We didn't have that. We didn't have it in my movie I made with my brother. Film was inaccessible, but now it's right here, right? So it's a totally different game now than when I started, and I'm old, so I've seen it shift a little bit.
I would say that maybe your very first big step into big time television was the Trapper John series. Would that be a fair statement?
With Brian Stokes Mitchell.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that was well, actually, it's interesting that while at Louisville, at Actors Theater Louisville, and I did take that to answer your question about the theater. Yes, I'm passionate about theater. I've founded a theater that's in its 34th season. We have a $33 million building that we own in downtown Sacramento. We started with touring elementary schools with Equity Theater, doing plays for kids, teaching kids how to write plays, and 34 years of feeding the guppies. And then after 5 years, we started a professional adult theater. So we were playing to our future audience while building our audience. Because I sort of, I remember in Tennessee, we started a children's theater in Appalachia. We'd seen a guy named Buddy Sheffield's theater. Buddy Sheffield created the Sheffield Educational Theater, and they were in the mid-'70s in Mississippi. He went on to write In Living Color and all kinds of stuff, a great pro. And him and his college buddies, they were like the children's theater Steppenwolf. What they were doing in the schools was mind-bogglingly funny, all aimed at the teachers who bring you back, all the laughs at the teachers, and then the story compelling for the kids. So I fell in love with kids doing that in college, and we had to close up shop after 50 performances because we didn't know what we were doing. We were in college. And so I started that at the theater. And Stripes, while at Actors Theater Louisville, I apprenticed and then joined the company, and then did Broadway. And I did a series for ABC, a 6-episode thing called Reggie. And then I got Family Ties and Nerds. I'd done Nerds and some guest spots, and then I got Family Ties. And they asked me to be a regular, but they also asked me to be a regular on Trapper John. And I knew from the Nerds movie I could do comedy, and I just knew I was built for comedy. But becoming being able to work with a film camera and not shoot live audience stuff, I wanted more of that. So I went to Trapper and got to do 40 episodes, in a lead spot, and go to dailies every day at 20th Century Fox, where you'd go up and they would count down, 8, 5, doot, doot, doot. And then you'd watch the dailies, something out of a, old movie. It was really cool. Anyway, and then lots of drinking and drugs and screwing things up in my life. And here I am.
Well, I know you did several episodes of Family Ties. What was it like working with Michael J. Fox?
He's the dream of dreams. Michael J. Fox said to me, you can be an asshole or you can make someone's day. It's up to you. And that's his philosophy on life, and that's who that man is. He's a great, great, sweet, kind man. The theater I'm talking about, I couldn't have started that theater without him. We were doing Family Ties when I was starting it, and I didn't have the money. He'd give me a couple thousand, give me a couple thousand there. That theater was really started out of his bank account.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you did Trapper John and you did Family Ties. You did an episode of Matlock. Then you get a big starring role in a hit massive television show, 30 something. How did that all come together?
Audition. I knew we were going to make the second Nerds movie. Mm-hmm. And I'd come off Trapper and I just wanted to do features for the most part. I didn't want to do television at that time, and I was great, but the features were there, and so I thought, I was doing my theater, and I knew a series would also be hard for me to. I'd already started the Sacramento Theater, and was there when I got the call for the audition, and I was like, I don't want to do it. And then I read it, and I was like, oh my God, this is just great writing. You have to do great writing, right? And I was like, this is amazing. And so I pulled the hair. I was 29. I was like pulling the hair out of my face. I looked probably 25. And I was going, I'll never get it. And went down and read. And they actually offered me either part. They said, which one do you want? You can play Peter Horton's part or your part.
Wow.
They didn't really say it like that. I mean, it wasn't like, we'll pay you this much for that. But they said, it's your choice, which one? And I said, look, I don't know anything about being a sexy single guy, but I can fuck up a marriage. So I'll play that guy. And they let me, with the writing, it was also, I'd been through a divorce. I had a 5-year-old, which was the same age as my son, in the show. The show was about sharing your shit from the writers all the way down. If you had bad habits, bring it out. If you got problems, bring it out. If you got stuff artistically to share, bring it out. And I was, 29, 30, 5-year-old kid, been through a divorce. I wanted to share how screwed up men can be. And I got one of those.
Yes, and as we're showing on the screen, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 1991. You won the Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actor, was it?
Mm-hmm.
For 30-something. So it's an actor's dream to win an Emmy. It's something that every television actor aspires to. How does it feel when you're sitting in the audience and they go, and the winner is Timothy Busfield?
Well, I'm always going to tell the idiot side of me story if I can, at least get it in there a little bit. But I was nominated the 3 prior years to the year I won. And every year I was picked to win. And every year I lost. And the year before, I'd actually got a hotel room. Larry Drake, who won the first 2 years, he wasn't in it anymore. I was picked again. So I went to the Bel Air and had a party and rented rooms for my buddies and spent all kinds of money. And of course I lost. And I came back to the hotel and I was like, what am I doing? We got kids, and I'm so stupid. So the next year, the moment was surreal, absolutely surreal. It's just weird to have your name called like a lotto ticket in front of everybody, and then be able to be normal. It's just weird. Estelle Getty, who gave me the Emmy with the Golden Girls, had said to me, I don't know, maybe 6 months earlier, before any nominations or anything, she said, "You're going to win the Emmy this year." And I said, "Okay, great. Nice. I've lost. Nice talking to you. I don't think I'm going to win. I don't think that's going to happen." And sure enough, I won. And she was chosen as the presenter. Without it, we don't have any choice over that stuff. So that moment going up, seeing her and the look on her face of, I just said that to you. I can't believe that. And I'm the one giving it to you. I had that to walk up to with a Hall of Famer. So that was kind of cool. And then, I don't know. It's a nice price. The nice thing about it is that they don't matter anymore. Whatever that mystique is of an award, oddly enough, it doesn't actually go, wow, look what I have. It actually allows you to detach from the value of it, because the value of it is great. I know I'm part of the club. I did good. I've got I won a batting title somewhere, or led the league in doubles or whatever it would be. That's nice. I got a nice baseball card, but at the end of the day, it doesn't move it doesn't move anything.
No, that's understandable.
Yeah, it's great, but you just go, okay, now I don't need it. I mean, the point I was getting at is that you don't want, if you have one, there's a moment in Chariots of Fire when a guy doesn't want to run on the Sabbath. And so he says, "I'm not running." And so another guy goes in, and he's with the royals from London and the commission. They're all looking at the guy, and he's going, I won't run he's a Christian. He goes, I won't, or Sunday, he won't run on Sunday. They want him to run in the Olympics. And he says, I won't run. And they don't know what to do. He's going to win. He's going to win a gold medal if he runs. And so a guy comes in and says, "Hey, I already won one. Why doesn't he run the 220 for me on Saturday?" And that solved it. So you feel like you have one. Once you have one, what's two or three? One, good. It does that. And it's nice, but it's only worth a couple $100.
Yeah, and it's attached to you forever. You are forever now Emmy Award.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. But the Children's Theater would probably be of more value. Creating that theater would be of more value to me. The memories of crying until I'm peeing my pants with some really funny actors on the set. When you can't, you can't do anything because one of them's just killing you. Those are the memories that, Scott would talk about, or I would talk about, that sort of, that you lay in the middle of the night, what it is when you're just there, just cracking up. Those are strong, memories that far surpass. My kids for at least 7 or 8 years had Barbie doll clothes and other people's faces on the thing. If you walked in my house and the Emmy was there, my daughter probably had pasted a cutout of something on its face. It was treated with very little.
Let me ask you something. On the night that you won, were you seated at the end of the aisle?
No, as a matter of fact, the story, I was at the end of the aisle. No, okay. I was at the end of the aisle. Okay. I was there. Camera was there. I was always at the end of the aisle. Maybe are you saying that if you're not at the end of the aisle, you're probably not going to win?
No, if you are at the end. Huey Lewis shares a story with me that's fantastic. He was so excited that he was up for an Oscar for his song, The Power of Love, back in 1985 from Back to the Future. And everybody was telling Huey that you're going to win it. You have the most popular song of the year. Everybody loves Power of Love. You're going to win it. So he's all excited. He gets in his finest tuxedo. He shows up at the Oscars, and he's seated in the middle of a row. And before he sits down, Ray Charles turns around to him and goes, "Sorry, man." He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, Ray Charles goes, "You're in the middle of the aisle. That means you lost." And fair enough. I think Lionel Richie was sitting at the end and won the Oscar for Best Song that year.
Yeah, they don't want to. You don't see a lot of people getting up and
yeah, go. Excuse me. Pardon me.
you don't see a lot of that. Yeah.
Mr. Schiaff,
let me quickly ask: is it a myth that awards of that nature, like an Emmy or a Academy Award, doesn't bring more offers to you as an actor?
I think the popularity of the show is going to bring you more offers right away. I think if the show's not popular and you pick up a prize, I don't think it moves the needle at all. I think if you're on something that was hot and you didn't win a prize, you're going to get offers. If you're in a $100 million movie, you're going to get offers because you were a part. You're good luck, or you're a part of that research, that you were great. People saw it. I think that matters more. Certainly not. The Emmy, they don't really even promote it. Nowadays, you might see it, but you don't even see it. You don't hear Emmy Award winner Timothy Busfield for Life. ABC's not floating that out there. They don't. You just don't see it. You don't see it in the guest spots I do. You don't see it. Thanks, guys. You don't see it on that show right there, For Life I Do, on coming up, premiering this Wednesday, 10 o'clock. That's Nicholas Pinnock, fantastic British actor. Just a sweet, great guy, a really strong actor. You might know him from Marcella, which was a BBC crime drama, if you saw him on that. Fantastic. Indira Varma from Game of Thrones is on the show.
Yeah, I watched the show all last season. It was fantastic.
It's better this year. The pandemic, it's weird that the pandemic, you think things might improve. But necessity is the mother of invention, right? So who knows necessity when you got everything and you're not thinking about it and whatever. And I'm not a pandemic. Nothing's going to sweep into my life and all of a sudden disrupt everything. You just don't see it coming. But I believe Hank Steinberg, being such a pro, I've been his number two. I was the producing director on Without a Trace for about 50 episodes back in the early 2004 to 2006. I'd done that on Ed for a couple of years and then directed a show with James Caan and then produced Without a Trace. And I got to work with Hank Steinberg, who also created The Nine and The Last Ship. And I was an actor, director, producer on that show for the Jerry Bruckheimer show. And when this show came up and he offered me the show, I jumped at it. And there were last year, there were a lot of storylines. He was in the prison and the family and this and that. And the show was great, but it was oh, thank you, Ryan. The show was, it was good, but the inspiration writing wise that came to the writer's room and Hank when they had to get small. You know, bottle shows in television, we have something called bottle shows. And bottle shows are what, are very common balancers of the budget. Let's say you spend a whole bunch of money, you got a bunch of car chases in episode 5, and then there was the hurricane in episode 6. Episode 11, what we would call a bottle show, all takes place in one building or in one sound stage. Everything. We don't move the trucks anywhere. We don't move the equipment anywhere. We don't do casting outside of what we just stay right near our trailers and at the studio and what we own without going out. And we shoot an episode that would take 9 days and 7. And those 2 days at 150,000 a day that we bring back into the budget is often a balancer in television.
Wow, that's very cool. Interesting knowledge you're sharing. Thank you.
Brandon E. Brooks, who's a great independent filmmaker, he says, "Congrats on a great career, Timothy. One of my favorite films is Sneakers. Any cool stories working with greats like Sidney Poitier, Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, or the late River Phoenix?
Well, you pick. I mean, I got to know Danny a bit, and River and I got close, and Redford and I got close. Great. Redford then put me in quiz show. He gave me a couple days in quiz show after that. During that movie, when you do a big feature film like that, that was one of those where we shot in Oakland and Los Angeles, and we had Robert Red. We had there were a lot of movie stars. It was a big Universal picture. So it was, 16-week kind of. Redford gets the month of December off on any movie he ever does or ever did, because that's when he skis. So the month of December, you're just done, and you go away and you come back in January. Well, it was during that month of sneakers that I went up north and found out we did not get a National Endowment for the Arts grant, and then started the B Street Theater, and created that theater in 30 days and opened in 30 days, and went back and told Redford I'd created a theater, and he flew in the Sundance people that were doing the children's theater, and I helped them set up their children's theater. But funny stories. Redford, very first scene, we're shooting at the foot of the Bay Bridge, and it was cold. My first scene, one of the earliest scenes in the movie, and it's Mark Twain said the coldest winter he ever spent. What is it? Was a summer in San Francisco. It was the coldest winter he ever spent, and I'm in a full down jacket. They give the actors, they want us warm. They come, wardrobe puts on the thing that makes you look like you're in Siberia, right? With the thing out, and you're freezing cold, and you're thinking, I'm in California. How could I be this cold? And I'm zipped up, and I'm talking to Phil Robinson, the director, and Walter Parks is there, the producer. These are, Academy Award guys that are standing around, and I see Redford and Poitier come around the corner, and they're just wearing their shirt sleeves and jackets. And I unzipped that thing so fast. I mean, I almost got it and just threw it off to the side like it wasn't mine.
That was keeping us warm for somebody else.
Exactly. And we rehearsed the scene, and we'd rehearsed the movie. We'd spent a couple weeks. There were a couple scenes. There's one scene in there that's a one shot, one of those one shot, not a big West Wing walkie, but there's a fairly complicated oneer in that movie. So we had to rehearse that, and I got to know Redford a little bit. So we rehearsed the first scene we do in the movie, and we finish. The director says, okay, cut. And Redford looks at me and says, are you going to do it that way? I knew that he was messing with me. And the tone from that moment on, I laughed, and I said it was a choice. And he said, I came back, and he laughed. And he's a practical joker, right? So Aykroyd and hanging out with Strathern was there, and River was obsessed with our trailers were right by each other, and he liked the Beatles a lot, and I liked the Beatles, and I know some of the history of the Beatles, and so he really liked that, and he really thought it was cool I had a kid. He didn't really know anybody that looked sort of our age that would have had a kid, and I was older than him, but he was a sweet, great guy. Poitier, great. We did the read through together. We were rehearsals together. I introduced myself on the first day. He thought I was a fan. He didn't know who I was. But Burt Lancaster in Field of Dreams, same thing. Now these guys, that's all these old timers did. Lugosi, Karloff, all these guys. Don't let anyone tell you their lives were all serious and the set was serious. It was as goofy as you can imagine. And they always were going for laughs. And Burt Lancaster says to me, and we first scene and whatever, we're about to do a scene, and he says, "Here, son, take my coat." And and the directors, they're like rolling. And so I go, okay, I take the coat, and I say, Annie, like to the costume girl, get the coat. And we come to do the scene, and he says, "Here, son, you're in my eye line." And I went, "Oh, Mr. Lancaster, I am your eye line. I play Mark in the movie." and then I realized he was just totally messing with me. And it was that kind of stuff these guys would do. Jeff Daniels tells a great story about Purple Rose of Cairo, where he's sitting at a table scene with, I think, Don DeFore, all those guys. There's my buddy Jeff. They're all sitting there, Hall of Famers everywhere in this scene, all old timers. And Jeff sits down at this table and takes this napkin and snaps the napkin and puts it in his lap. And one of these old timers that you'd recognize, that we grew up on, and from the 20s and 30s, these guys are all 70-year-old movie stars. At one point, leans over and says, "Are you going to do that with the napkin?" And Jeff goes, and this is a Woody Allen movie, right? And he's looking around, he looks at Woody's nowhere to be. He's not going to get anything from Woody on it. And he goes, should I not do it? And goes like that, right? So they go away. Now that he does it, now that was the rehearsal. They go away and they light and they come back. So they come back and they get to that moment. And Jeff picks up his napkin, right, and lifts it up and lays it in his lap. And every one of the old timers at the table will take their napkin and go snap like that and put it in their lap. And they totally set him up. That's all those guys are thinking about, because they were under contract. If you think about the old school guys, the actors that we grew up idolizing, you're going to do this movie and then that movie and then this movie and then that movie. That's how they were treated. They were treated like the contractor was the studio executive, and then they were just laborers. They were builders. You're going to play Frankenstein, and then you're going to be in this one, you're going to be in that one. And they just, and so to them, all they had was, the work was the work, but the Scott will tell you that, he's worked some of the funniest people in the world. And it's just the moments of acting, you might do a scene the last 2 minutes. You might shoot in a day. You might, at the most, 14 minutes of usable material on a big feature film. That would be above and beyond. You're usually going to get 6 minutes.
Right.
You're getting 6 minutes for 12 hours. The rest of the time you're laughing and eating.
And waiting for setups.
Yeah, that is those days. That it's interesting. Those are the days. Those days are going away, and that it's going to change everything about our business, because everything is still at the rhythm of film. Everything is done at the same rhythm of film. All the call times, the movement of the crew, everything. It feels like everybody's still dealing with milk, but it's actually water. So it's just so much easier and faster. It goes away with no mess. It's just that your phone, the new Sony A7S III, can, with the right lens, with the right piece of glass, can look like Game of Thrones. So you don't need the cameras that they have that can capture an image. Don't need light. We used to need light. We used to have big trucks, and everybody needed the giant lights. Scott will remember those days. David, that we used to need a ton of light because the speed of film was so slow. But it's not slow anymore. It's hundreds of thousands. You can dial it to any number. You can even dial it to a really nice cinematic number at a low end, and you still have just the right amount of light. And most of the DPs, when I'm directing and producing, they're taking their lights away. So if you're an executive producer and you're negotiating a package with a gaffer or a director of photography, no, we're not using it. No, we don't need it. No, we don't need those people. No, we're not going to be putting all the gels and everything else out on the street at 11 o'clock at night. So our wrap out's another hour longer. We don't need it. We don't need it. So for the filmmakers that are out there, 1, 2, 3, go. Grab the camera yourself.
A lot of editing is actually being done on set, literally beginning the editing. I know Kevin Smith was editing literally shortly after shooting, because you can.
Everything's so easy and fast. When I started directing, to edit an episode of 30-something, they had a machine called the Ediflex machine. It needed 12 cassettes to move to a new scene.
Wow.
12 cassettes that you'd have to put in and then eject and then put a whole new reel in of stuff or whatever. Not reel, but those were all the reels. But you'd have to put that material in. The time it took. And nowadays you can edit, and editing is all rhythm, right? It's rhythm and storytelling. And now you can do it. It used to be there was no access to learn how to do that stuff. It was only for a rare few of us that made it to the town, that got to LA or New York with a certain amount of success, and then we're able to be around all that stuff, all the equipment, all the lights, all the stages, all the people, all that stuff. You don't need that stuff anymore.
And if you guys remember when we were kids, we used to have to shoot on those old 8mm reel-to-reel cameras. And if you were shooting indoors, you would have to light up your house or your living room or your Christmas tree with lights that were like equivalent to the sun, just to be able to get any shot that was. I remember shooting my first feature film on a Panasonic PV210 VHS camcorder. And the thing was literally gigantic. And now they shoot motion pictures like Godzilla and the Avengers on cameras that are actually smaller than these things that we had when we were kids. It's absolutely amazing. In 1989, you did what many consider one of the greatest films of all time. It's up there with classics like It's a Wonderful Life and Citizen Kane. You did Field of Dreams. When you guys were shooting Field of Dreams, did you know that you were doing something that was so iconically special?
No, you knew this. You knew it was a great script. The script was perfect. You read it, and it had fairy dust jumping off it. It was just magic. I mean, it was just every page. Even the paper looked cleaner. There was just nothing. It was perfect, and the emotion was perfect. But I remember saying, nobody's going to see this movie. The baseball's terrible, so the guys aren't going to like it. You know what I mean? These are not major league athletes. These are actors. And Kevin, the women will like it. But then we tell that story, and it works. But then James Horner comes along, and James Horner puts on top of that perfect script a perfect score. And at that moment when he says, "Dad, you want to have a catch?" He hits a musical note that he's been building to for a long time. And it's like the dog whistle for men's emotions. It just, men just kind of go, take a breath because of what, the sacred relationships of parents and stuff. And the movie's been well executed up to there. Really nicely. It was tough. It was a very tough shoot because it was the drought of '88. Brian Frankish, who plays the umpire in the movie and has one or two lines in the movie, he insured the corn back when they first scouted the location. And when we would drive, Kevin and myself and James Earl Jones and Gabby, we all stayed at a place called Eagle Ridge, a golf resort in Galena, Illinois. And we would drive about an hour and 15 minutes, 20 minutes to Dyersville, where the baseball field was. And all the way there, all the corn was dead. It was 1988. It was a drought. It was a horrible, every day was 100. So when you're having a drought, outside is not necessarily the best place to be. However, as the gods would have it, cinematically, what it does to the air is ridiculous. And when the fog comes in and he says to Ray Liotta, is when Ray Liotta says, "Is this heaven?" and Kevin says, "No, it's Iowa." Because we had to wait for the corn to grow because it was a drought, we had to shoot all of our cover sets right away. All of our indoor sets we shot out. Everything right away because the corn had to grow. We had to irrigate it and bring water in. And it was tough. It was a drought, needed a lot of water. Eventually it got too big. So then everything was catch as catch can. Let's get this side of that. Let's get this side of that. Let's get these two. Let's get that. That became the movie making, which makes you really depend on the script. But that scene, Ray was at a bar and the fog rolled in. And John Lindley and Phil Robinson, the director, said we should shoot his disappearing into the corn for the first time with this fog in the background of the shot. It'll be magical. And they said, go get it. And they said, we wrapped him an hour ago. And they said, find him. And they sent a PA out that found him having a blood and said, come back to work. And Ray was boom. James Earl Jones, his big speech, stayed at a local dive hotel. Probably wasn't even 2-star, 1-star dive hotel because he wanted to be close to work because he didn't want to screw up that scene.
Wow.
Right? So he didn't do the hour 15 commute in the morning. He stayed right there in the sleaziest flea bag. He probably got, scabies or something, but he was phenomenal. I don't remember him missing a beat or a line.
Nothing worse than Darth Vader with scabies.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, I know that you were a fantastic baseball player. I was actually drafted in 1988 by the Cincinnati Reds. Tell me a little bit about your baseball career.
Well, you're a better player than me. I can tell you that already. What position did you play?
I was a first baseman and pitcher in high school, and strictly a first baseman. Sadly, I was I grew up in the early 80s in New York City, and I idolized the wrong player, and that's why I didn't make it. I idolized Dave Kingman. So I either hit the ball 500 feet or struck out. I actually still to this day hold the record for my college's home runs, but I only batted .213.
Did you really? You still have that record? What college was that?
I wound up going to Queens College because I got drafted in the spring of 1988, and between deciding to either play baseball and basketball at Ohio State or play for a Cincinnati Reds minor league organization, in that summer I got hit by a car and double compound fractured both of my knees.
Oh no!
So
yeah, that happens.
That
happens to athletes all the time. There's so many great athletes. You're just the guys that last a whole career. There's a lot of luck there that they just didn't get.
Yep.
Didn't break a bone or didn't fall off a ladder.
So my D1 scholarship magically disappeared once I got hurt. So I played D2.
Of course it did. Of course it did.
And I hold the record for D2 home runs by a freshman with 23.
Wow!
Yes.
Were you a lefty?
I'm a righty, but I only batted .213, and
that doesn't matter. If you're going to hit that many home, look, Dave Kingman, honest to God, throw him a fastball up in his eyes and then bounce 3 balls off the plate, and he's done.
But if he got a hold of one, he would hit it.
It's a 3-run home run.
Yeah,
and
another continent.
If you're not in the strike zone, and you can't walk people in front of Kingman, and I wouldn't have wanted to walk people in front of you. So you see you down the line, and I'd take .213 for that. I would probably turn you into a .275 and let you hit some of those balls the other way. But I would certainly say, look, if you're hitting that many from the right side, and you're probably pulling all those, weren't you?
Oh yes, I was.
Yeah.
If the ball came at me straight, I'd hit it a mile. If it had any kind of ungodly hook, I was done.
That's why you hit .213, only because righties like the ball away, lefties like the ball down and in, and for a righty to like the ball on the inside part of the plate, it's just going to take that understand that distance of extension. Righties really like to be out, like Altuve and the great righty hitters. Their hands are fully extended; they're not puller. But the great lefties like Babe Ruth and Ted Williams and all those guys, they love everything They love Mattingly. They love the ball right here.
What position did you play?
I could only act like a baseball player. I couldn't actually play baseball. I just made a lot of teams because I could actually walk like a baseball player.
Yeah,
I played baseball up till last year. I played in Long Island. I won a couple of championships with the Long Island Cubs as a pitcher, a starting pitcher. I was 7-0 with those guys the last couple of years, and then I ended up at the Yankee surgeon's office with my first shoulder injury in all my life. I played with a team called the Hollywood All-Stars, Mark Harmon, Billy Crystal, guys like that. We athletes a little bit. Billy's a really good baseball player. Actually had a minor league contract with the Yankees for a day. But a really good baseball player. And when we were in Keaton and we were in our 20s and 30s, we would tour and play before a Pittsburgh Pirate game. I was a counselor at Mickey Owen Baseball School as a kid, so I'd play 100 games a summer with Major League instruction. I can throw the ball perfectly. I know I swing from the left to right. Little big league, I'm not a lefty, and I was able to pull that off with Ken Griffey and guys like that a little bit. So I can fake all that stuff, but I'm not big and strong, and I'm not fast. And if you're not big and strong and fast, you better be an actor.
I don't know. You remind me of like a Brett Butler type, like a leadoff hitter. You lay down a bunt.
Brett Butler's fast.
You hit it
Brett Butler, he can run down a fly ball. Brett Butler, let me tell you something. He's a pitcher's best friend. You get somebody up there when you're a pitcher and a guy like you comes up and he hits a rope right up the gap into left center, and that thing's, if it doesn't go out, it's at least 2, and somebody runs it down. I played 9 years with a team in Sacramento called the Sacramento Smokies, and I'd get $50 here or there, $500 on the road to go play against the Humboldt Crabs and stuff like that. And I was a headliner, and I had 50 starts over 9 seasons and struck out a couple hundred college kids and ex-pro ball players over the time there, and won a lot of games and championship with that team. And the difference between playing at the level where you got great college players, it was the kind of team, the semi-pro, and semi-pro is basically you know what it is, Dave, but the college kids come home for the summer and they usually play ball with the ex-pro ball players on the best team in town. And I was a headliner there as a pitcher, could always throw the ball mid 80s, could still throw the ball 80. Even when I played last year, I just had a strong arm, and I learned the game and I could get guys out. So I was able to survive a little bit, but I couldn't have played. I was not drafted by Cincinnati Reds. I could not have played Major League Baseball. I did get a pro offer at 35 from Saskatchewan of the Northern League. I'd struck out 9 of the first 11 for the Hollister A's in California in a game, and they were a great semi-pro team, and the scouts were there, and it was just the first 4 innings. I was untouchable, and a Cleveland Indian scout I got a call for $500 a month, and I had, I think, sneakers. I couldn't do it. I was like, no, that's awful sweet, but I can't really play baseball.
No, I think you underestimate your skill. You sound like you're a great
I learned, well, I was a counselor to baseball school. So if you do that, if you play Mickey Owen Baseball School, 100 games a summer, you're playing 2 at night. They advertise everybody that comes for 2 weeks plays 28 games. I'm there for 2.5 months. And I'm playing with the 15, 16-year-olds, and I'm playing with the 17, 18-year-olds at night. So I'm playing 3-4 ball games a day. If you do that with pro instruction, you're going to learn, just like, travel ball. And teams would come in from, that was in Miller, Missouri. They'd come in from Missouri, Kansas. They'd bus in, and they would play the students. Michael Jordan went there. Charlie Sheen went there. Yeah.
Now, Tim, I know I promised I'd have you done earlier, but would you stay about 5 more minutes? There's a couple more questions. I mean, you're just
go.
Awesome,
if people are interested, do you still have anybody listening?
No, the chat is packed. All of our channels has tons of people on it, so we're doing great. And you also got to realize this will be archived and watched by thousands and thousands of people.
Okay.
Another thing that I wanted to ask you about was the West Wing great show. Your performance was outstanding. What was it like working on that show?
Fairy dust again. It's a great script. When you get a great script, it's not like something you got to carve out or you got to go back or go, who is this or who is that? It's just bam, 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 bam. And Aaron had sent me West Wing, and I was already directing Sports Night, I think, at the time, and had directed Aaron in my theater and had done A Few Good Men. I played the Tom Cruise role on Broadway. So I was, and when I did the West Wing, I lived at Aaron's house most of the time. I was either there or the show would put me up in a hotel. But I was mostly at Aaron's house. And so athletically, we just knew each other. We collaborated a lot in the Studio 60. I was a producer, director, actor on that with Aaron. And so West Wing Aaron had not had a great experience necessarily on Sports Night. He did and he didn't. He learned a lot. He had a great time. Aaron always has a great time. He's a sweet guy, but I think Aaron felt like he could do better. And the show went off the air in 2 years. And the second year of Sports Night, he wrote 22 Sports Nights and 22 West Wings. 22 West Wings, 22 Sports Night, and won it all. I think he won 3 Emmys that night, right? That night. And I've never been done. I swear to God, never been done. At that quality, 44 episodes of television, every word. I don't think it's ever been done. The downside is that Aaron was 2-minute drill. He wasn't able to get the scripts on Sports Night. If I was directing Sports Night, I'd show up at his place Sunday. I'd fly down, leave my kids. I'd come down, my wife, and there'd be a script. He'd come in maybe 5 at night with a script, and he'd throw it on the bed, and that would be my work the next morning. And the West Wing was getting pages. Call sheets were going out with just our names on it, but no scenes. He'd say, I need Tim, I need Allison, I need Martin, I need Spencer, Whitford, Lowe. You guys are all going to work throughout the day. And we would show up, old school, sit in the trailer and wait for pages. And then we get the pages. And then Spencer kind of put the kibosh on that, but without interrupting Aaron's flow. He didn't put the kibosh on it and make Aaron not write the best, most successful writing that had been seen to date. No show had, I think, ever won the Emmy all 4 of its years. In the first 4 years, he was on fire.
It's just a terrific show.
On fire. Yeah. And he was able to stay on fire, and we knew we were getting great writing. When you get a great scene, you look at it and you go, that's just not like anybody else's writing. There's just great writing, and then there's efficient. Most people think about writing just practically, and that's often good enough. People don't know how to read the good writing. Most development people have never read a great script. How many great movies are there in a year? And do you think they necessarily read Forrest Gump, or did they just go to the movie? Because if they didn't read Forrest Gump, they wouldn't know. And if they didn't read Field of Dreams, they wouldn't know. They would just think, it needs more of this, and is there value in that? And can we get a little bit of this? And I think it's lacking here. They give you a good academic interpretation of what needs to be fixed. But it's not like they're going, oh, my God, I'm dying for a great script. I'm melting for that great, phenomenal. And it was great because it was inspired. The writer was inspired. They weren't managed. They weren't cookie cuttered. They weren't theoried. They were allowed to be.
They were fleshed out.
John Wells allowed Aaron to be, and Tommy Schlamme ran the show. You had maybe Tommy Schlamme, and between those two guys, and there's nobody better as a mentor. There's nobody better you could imagine. He's been mine. But he ran the show. He knew exactly, and he would tell Aaron, we need this, we need that. And Aaron athletically would boom, 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 boom. Great experience. Allison, great.
Just a wonderful show. I think it was last summer or last spring, I was at a film festival, and I seen not many. Most people are aware that you are a brilliant actor, but I'm not sure as many people are aware that you are an equally talented and brilliant filmmaker and director. And I think it was last spring. Maybe I could be wrong. I was at in Narrowsburg, New York. I went to a film festival, and I seen a film you did called Guest Artist that you directed. I think your lovely wife produced, starring Jeff Daniels. And when I don't know its availability. You could tell me when I'm done rambling about this, but it was such a great piece of filmmaking. The pacing, the writing, the comic elements, the performance by Jeff Daniels. It's an underrated gem, and everybody. I'm sure Tim's going to tell us where we can find the movie. If it's, I got to see it in a theater on a big screen. It was a great film. Tim, tell us a little bit about that movie and where people can find it, because it truly is an art house masterpiece.
Well, it's called Guest Artist. It's on it's in, the videos will be hitting. I just got my box of the DVD or whatever it is. So that'll be going out. And you can just search it on your TV. I'm sure it's there in one of the pay-per-view. It's there. Guest Artist, just either Siri search it if you're an Apple person, or just hit your search and look for Guest Artist. I'm sure it's somewhere on the TV, and pay every penny it says to pay that it was, and twice
Yes.
if you could. That would be really great.
And to be honest with you, it's totally worth it, because it was just such a great film. I remember driving home that evening, and it was one of those films that made you think about, the main character a lot after you watch the film, and that says a lot about a movie when that does that.
It was Jeff Daniels, Melissa, and I had started a company in Michigan. Jeff and I had known each other since Off-Broadway at Circle Rep. We were company members of Lanford Wilson, who wrote the Tally plays and all that stuff. And we were company members there. And he was the first baseman. I was the shortstop on the team. And we became buddies, and we discovered very quickly that we grew up 40 miles apart. And I had moved to Michigan, and we started a company. And Jeff called one day and said, "Can I come over? I want to pitch you guys something." So he rolled over, and we sat around the table and had some coffee. And he said, "I want to do Guest Artist as a movie." And I said, "Okay, we can make that happen." And he said, and I said, we talked about. I said, we're going to do it for nothing. He wanted his kids, who run his company, and my son, who is an up and coming camera guy, who's now a very successful DP, and his kids are working a lot in Michigan and creating their own stuff. Great kids. He said, I want to do something and sleep in my own bed. And I said, and so. I drew up $100,000 budget, a $200,000, and a $300,000 budget, and we did and he said the 100, and I said the 3, and so he said, "It's your movie," and he wrote the screenplay off his play. And Jeff's written about 19 plays, 20 plays, and so a couple of them, Escanaba and the Moonlight, makes him more money than probably your average income, for a theater. You still it makes a lot of money. Doing this play. It just kills all around the country all the time. People love Escanaba and the Moonlight. But he's also got about 17, 18 other ones. Guest Artist was one of them. And we want 1, 2, 3, go. Boom. Pick the actors out of his theater in Michigan. Ended up being more around the 400,000. By the time we got through post, we picked up while shooting. I said, "Hey, what are you doing? We're done." He said, "I'm going to New York." I said, "I'm going to New York." And then I said, "Why don't we shoot the opening in New York? Why don't we shoot an opening? It wasn't scripted, and we can really set up in the story the two places." And he said, "Great." And he wrote it like in 20 minutes. We made the film. It won a bunch of festivals. It got distribution. We probably still won't be able to make any money on it, but it's going to be on planes, and it's out there, and I hope it does. Indican Pictures distributed the film and took it from us, took it off our hands. And it was a great experience. It was a play turned into a movie. I have never understood, for the most part, and I've done it 100 times, probably at least, why people go to the effort of doing a play and not filming it, not shooting it. You got the actors, you got the costumes. Even if it's just the set, it's going to be interesting for an hour and a half. Everybody's ready to go. Just grab 3 cameras and put them in people and just boom, 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 bam, bam. Shoot it out. Put some, put some radio mics on the guys. Maybe stick a couple and you're done. Why not do it? You'd have to negotiate a deal with SAG or Equity would give you or whatever, but there's not an actor in the world who wouldn't want to do it. And you have material and it's already performed. The story has been directed. Probably has the right rhythm and arc to it. Shoot it. Or what I did with one of my movies, One Smart Fellow, is I shot the movie Larry David style. And this was a very successful short film, 44-minute film that we made. We shot it in a day. We shot it in 8 hours. And it was a 5 to 7 page outline. And every beat was in there. And I got a first AD to push us along. Got a sound mixer from the show. Got the DP from the show I was producing. And the A-camera operator who lived together, those guys. We knocked on their door. Laura Innes joined me, my wife, and another actress. And I said, everybody's a producer. Everybody shares even. It's like a band. It's rock style. No hierarchy. No, I have the deal. I'm going to create a contract. None of that bullshit. If I need you here, you're here. If I don't need you, you can go. Which means if I can push the sound button, I don't need a sound guy. I'm good. Get as small as we can because we all share evenly. And camera operator, another person carry the camera, and you can tell a story off an outline. Then I wrote the play off of that. And the play was, we had a producer and I was writing a little bit more on the movie, but you improvise the movie, then you play it back and you write the text off of that. It's a backwards way of doing it. But for those people that are filmmakers out there that don't want to push a boulder uphill, for people that want to make a movie tomorrow, tonight, without having to say, I got to get a script and I got to get it sold and then we got to get money and I got to get cameras. All that's crap. If you want it, it's like you have the cameras on your phone. Just shoot and then edit. Shoot and edit. And if you write Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm, 5 to 7 page outline, and everybody, all the actors know what to play. I mean, Scott, where you walk in, it says, "Oh, Larry backs into your bumper," and you get in an argument with him. What actor doesn't know how to play that scene, right? You don't, and it's more real. And if you're a funny person, you just go, and the amount of content you get. We might have a 2.5 page scene in a TV show. We're going to keep doing those same 2.5 pages in every angle for a couple hours. But if you're improvising and you shoot for 7 minutes, you have 7 minutes of material. You don't have the same 2.5 pages. You actually have 7 minutes. So with our movie, One Smart Fellow, which you can find, I think, on YouTube now, One Smart Fellow, Melissa Gilbert and I, and there were 13 of us all together. That was your composer, you do all the music, your editor, your post color, post sound, cast of 4, DP, whatever it is. It's 13 people. You can go make that tomorrow. You don't need to push a boulder uphill. Do it, edit it, put it out for free. Have the balls to not associate. Don't know, that's the wrong thing to say. I shouldn't say that. Gender, that's the wrong thing. Inappropriate, but just because we shouldn't separate people by their gender.
We got you. You're okay.
Thank you very much. I wasn't sweating it too awfully much. But if you have the confidence to just go 1, 2, 3, go, right in your day, you're gonna get material and it'll be done, and then edit it. Put it up. Don't charge for it. Put it on YouTube. And if people like the quality of what you have offered, they'll bring you up. Nobody's going to make a great movie and put it on YouTube for free, rather than try to get into a festival and they go, well, we didn't like it. We felt this, or we want that, or we want this. And now everything is out of your control. You can actually control your career. Take your movie, edit it, don't make it. Our budget on the 44-minute film, $700. And I overspent. But I didn't have to pay anybody any salaries because I made them partners, equal partners in the film. And we only needed 13 people. If it made it for nothing, and if the film would have been a full-length film, it might have made a few $1 million. And if the budget was $700 and you made a few $1 million, everybody gets paid a lot of money of the 13. So it's a way you can control your path. Then if people like it, Hollywood's not going to look at a successful YouTube movie that has a lot of people loving it and then not pay attention to it, buy it. There's agents and executives that are looking for that, like gold in San Francisco in the 40s, 1840s. They want it. They're starving for it. So make your movie, shoot it fast, improvise it. Trust me too. If you're just starting making movies, you're not good enough. You're just not. You're not a good enough actor. You're not a good enough director. You're not a good enough writer. You're just not. But if you improvise, you're going to be a better actor because you're not having to memorize dialogue and then recite it, which is where we can always tell if someone can act or not. You're going to be saying your own words. And as a filmmaker, you're going to edit faster, more stuff, which is better. Do not feel you need to follow the standard Hollywood system, and it's over because of COVID in many ways anyway. It's desperate for content. You can sell right now a TV show like I'm pitching quicker than you could anything that takes place with a bunch of locations with a cast of 9 because they just can't produce it. They can't guarantee it'll run, and nobody will give the studios insurance. So the idea of forking out, they're doing it, not a ton, but to fork out the insurance to shut down something at $4 million a week and have to pay off a lot of money, people don't want to do it. If you can make content and you like what you're doing and you can get it done and get it edited, get it out, people will start buying it. And especially if you're small and can control it. That's what Hollywood wants right now.
It's like what you said earlier, like filming. Like my favorite film, one of my favorite films was 1776, which literally was the studio. I think Warner Brothers just filmed the Broadway cast of William Daniels and all those guys who did the Broadway show, and it's just a cinematic masterpiece. Tim, tell us a little bit about your new show and when people will be able to see it.
For Life, Wednesday, ABC. It's the second season of For Life with Nicholas Pinnock right there, and myself and Indira Varma from Game of Thrones, Joy Bryant, Dorian Missick, Tyler Harris. We had a really nice cast. Hank Steinberg writing. Wednesday night, 10 o'clock, ABC. Please watch. I think we have a really good season. The scripts are strong. Thank you, Carrie.
I will tell you that my two favorite shows is that show and Billions, and I think they're both brilliantly written. And
I love those guys on Billions. You know, the guys that write Billions that are responsible for Billions wrote Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 13.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and I met with those guys last year. They wanted to meet with me and sit, and then I got this other series. I got the For Life thing, and
we got to get you on Billions too, man. You'd be so.
I would look. I'd love it over there. I love those guys, all those actors. I love them, and I know they have a great time doing that show. It'd be really great.
Well, Mr. Busfield, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was an absolute honor and a privilege to speak with you and have you on our show. We wish you nothing but the best of success. And now you have to do me a favor and talk your wife into doing the show for me.
Oh, she'd love you guys. She'd love you guys. Joey, I'm sorry to have to wake you up. To come back for the thing. I could kind of hear you snoring a little bit in my right thing right there, and I'm sure it was a lot.
My show has that effect on people, Tim. It's not him. It's
Scott, what a pleasure to meet you. I love your work. Thank you, David. Keep going. You're fantastic. You're an inspiration yourself, and I want to throw you batting practice someday.
Tim, we have an adult baseball league for men 35 and older. We play right here in Milford, Pennsylvania. Dave Tailgater's an ex-Oakland A pitcher is up here and playing.
Do you play?
Yeah, I play every spring. If you want to go, I'll invite. I'm actually dear friends with Dave Kingman now, and we'll go fishing in the stream up here. And
No,
we'll go,
I hope he doesn't watch this.
no,
No, but you know what, Dave? Honestly, I would probably say it would be something up there that you would say I would hit 500 a year, and then I would seriously try to 12-6 you off the plate if I had it.
if I knew it was coming, you might be in trouble.
That look, he could one hand it. No, Dave Kingman. I'm talking about Dave Kingman could one hand anything I threw him like wiffle ball and hit out. I don't know what I would throw you. You're a righty. I'd drop down. I'd probably bring it up past your ear.
You do a little Tentacovi action on me.
Oh, I would that. I'd throw it from right down there. I'd drop down, maybe even get down here, or maybe
It's
just
funny.
put a little, just a little bit of that in, let it duck in on your hands a little bit, and you'd pull it foul.
There's a great Dave Kingman story. There was an Oakland. There was a Chicago
Thank you, Susie.
Cub. There was a Chicago Cub fan who was watching Kong play for the Cubs in 1979, the year that he was second in voting for MVP. And he hit a home run, and she's jumping up and down in the living room. And the next thing she knows, 3 houses off Waveland Avenue, the ball comes crashing through her living room window. that home run is actually on YouTube. You could check it out. It's a game that the Cubs beat the Philadelphia Phillies in a pitching duel 23-22. But that's the kind of power Kong had. He would check swing 400-foot home runs. He was just like prehistorically strong, that guy.
Yeah. I'm aware. You know, those guys, they also too, what you realize if you're out on a field with any guy, it's AAA and above for the most part. They're just a different hitter. AAA and above. AAA and above, if you throw anything out over the middle of the plate, you're going to get hit really hard. They'll never, ever let you off the hook. They won't pop it up or miss it. You hardly ever see it if you make a genuine mistake. But what else they can do, and guys like Kingman, what they can do, that is that Winfield, all those great hitters, or the home run hitters, they put backspin on the ball. Mm-hmm. They can actually put backspin on a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. And when a wood bat grabs the leather ball, you know this, and you hit it, you catch a seam, and it's spinning like this, right? And you hit that seam, and you create that snap of backspin. The ball goes about 250, 280 feet, and then it goes up to another plane.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It goes like that. Only the major leaguers, you don't see it in college kids because they use aluminum bats mostly, so they don't get that bite. But you don't see it in AA, single A, all those guys I played against. But anybody AAA and major league, you turn to look, and if you have a great outfielder, and they know that's going to happen, you hit that ball, they know where that thing's going to go to that level. Those guys in the major leagues are ridiculous. Dave Kingman was a great, great player.
I don't know if you remember Gary Sheffield. He was notorious for hitting.
Of course I remember.
Where you would line it up in the outfield, and then all of a sudden you'd be running back because it went 20 feet past you.
Yeah, they were. Those are major. Those major athletes are just another level. As are the actors. As is Sean Penn. As is those guys. If you athletically, they're just better than everybody else. They were,
Yep.
You can't be them. You don't have to be them. You just make your own stuff, make your own art. Phones, Sony cameras, the A7S III, the A7 III, the AR4 with Sony lenses. Set it at factory settings. Get some Sony Zeiss lenses. You'll be out 10 grand. Pick up at most you're going to be, and that would be with the brand new Sony A7S III 4K camera. Go ahead and get a nice sound deck and spend a little money on lavalier microphones so you have it. You're an indie filmmaker. You can make anything you want. 1, 2, 3, go. Improvise a story.
Even that, or a Blackmagic 4K, a little $2,000 camera.
All of them will work.
Yeah,
I give you an example. Sony has them. Yeah. Lumix has them. They all have them. Everybody has them. The point is, if you don't know anything about it, that's okay. Put both cameras at the exact same settings and put them on factory settings. You'll still tell a good story. Don't worry if you don't know if you're not lighting the cabinet of Dr. Caligari. You know what I mean? You don't need to know how to do that. You want them to match.
Yep.
And you want the lighting to be the same in both of them and how they receive that lighting and that image. You want them to match so they cut together well. So just put them at the exact same numbers. You're a filmmaker.
Absolutely. And it's the story that you tell that's important. Again, Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Good night, guys.
Be safe, be well, and I hope to see you soon.
All right. Take care. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Tim Busfield, a living legend and icon, a man who's done things in film that most of us can only dream of. And as you can see, somebody who's achieved so many wonderful things in his career, yet is so kind and so willing to share his knowledge and his time with us. Just a wonderful guy.
Let me tell you how cool it was to see the three of you on screen talking shop. That was freaking amazing.
Oh, thank you.
That guy is really, really an inspiration now. He's seen our industry go through so many changes, and he's been constantly working that whole time. And now he's right up to date with how things are going, and he's all about just grab it and do it. That's mind-blowing to me. That was unbelievable.
No, he's a great inspiration, and what an honor to have him on the show tonight. Thank you, Brandon. He is a true legend. Sean, I hope you're well. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the show. Carrie, thank you for watching the show. I thought he was awesome, and maybe one day we'll get his beautiful wife and super mega talented icon, Melissa Gilbert, to join us. That'd be awesome. Uncle Scott, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything you want to share with us before we sign off tonight?
No, stay safe, everybody, and keep making your art if you're an artist, and thank you for all the support.
Thank you for being you. And I just want to share one thing. Scott and I's movie, Wit's End, is available on Amazon for free for people with Amazon Prime. So give it a watch. A loving tale that actually, it's a heartwarming tale that in these trying times would probably be a nice time to watch something that has a nice message behind it. And again, thank you, Uncle Scott, for always being in my corner and being my pal.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me on tonight. As an actor, I super appreciated Tim. That was wonderful.
Oh, Tim, he's just an incredible guy. I've been blessed to speak with him on a few occasions, and he's just a wonderful guy. Yep. So that wraps another legendary episode of The End of the Night. You know, it truly is, guys, where icons come to chat. You know, when you really think about the people that we've now had on this show, it's pretty staggering. And it's so wonderful to see the human side of these guys, to see for them to share their knowledge with us, to them to share funny stories with us. I mean, when you really think about it, rumor has it that a guest of this show is going to be the new host of Jeopardy. So, I mean, think of that. The iconic John O'Hurley is one of the final 3 people who are in the final talks to host Jeopardy. So let's all hope and pray that John O'Hurley, who's a dear friend of our show, even cut us a Peterman tag for the Indie Brigade. That's the kind of guy he is. Gets the if you're out there, the producers of Jeopardy, John O'Hurley's your man. I mean, who better than John O'Hurley to take the great Alex Trebek's place?
Perfect.
And he would be a perfect fit. He's dapper, he's witty, he's smart, he's a beloved, iconic television star, and he would be the guy for you to have as the new Jeopardy host. So let's hope, cross our fingers, because we could have the Jeopardy host on our show whenever we want. How cool would that be? Because John's just a great guy. So good luck, John. I know that we spoke earlier this afternoon. Good luck on getting that gig, and our fingers are crossed here at the Brigade that Jeopardy, the producers of Jeopardy, use their head and hire you as the new host of Jeopardy. And we know that it's absolutely close to becoming a reality. With that being said, next week, if I can get it all squared away, I have a video that I want to world premiere on the show. that's pretty epic, and I will share it with you guys. I also have another really epic guest lined up for next Friday, which I will announce on Monday. And you guys make sure that are you and George going to be back on at 9 o'clock next week?
Next week, yes. Black Friday, everybody's taking off.
Okay.
And obviously Christmas and New Year's we're taking off.
Okay, sweet. So, of course, our fearless leader, George C. Romero, will be back at his regular 9 p.m. time slot next week. And, can't wait to, his show is what everybody wants to see. And we'll have the end of the night at 11 o'clock to clean up the mess. So, everybody, have a great week. Thank again to Tim Busfield for joining us tonight. Thank you, Uncle Scott, for doing...
Well, I just want to make sure, Scott, please don't bail out immediately after
Please
the show.
don't what?
Bail out immediately after the show.
Oh,
Stick
okay.
around for a moment, please.
I'll stick around, sure.
Okay. Can I have my close-up, Mr. DeVille?
Wow. Yes, sir.
I don't remember the line. Can somebody help me?
You're supposed
Anybody?
to have that tattooed on your head.
No, my desk is a mess because I've been cleaning. It's oddly enough. You think one of my pals like Sean? Okay, I got it. Remember, no man is a failure who has friends. See you next week, everybody.